I want to thank everyone who cares about my family. I didn't mention it before, but now it's the first time I want to tell people that. This is not the first time my mom and my other family member get arrested by the Chinese Communist Party. As I know, although I cut off most of connection with my family directly, this is the fourth time my mom, 63 years old teacher, got arrested by Chinese Communist Party. I'm the only child in my family. My mom has done nothing wrong. The only thing they arrest my mom and send her to Beijing is because I tell the truth of COVID-19, which Chinese government feel angry about. What they have done is try to make me silent.
That's Dr. Li Mingyang, the defector from the lab that came to the United States to speak truth. And the Global Times, you know, the New York Post, or the New York Post, actually a good tabloid. This is a rag, propaganda rag. They've got they don't like this Pew study. The Pew study says that people know that they are bad guys. It's not China, by the way. It's not the Chinese people. Lao Beijing are the most decent, hardworking people on earth. They're the deplorables. We fight and assist them in their struggle for freedom every day. But they talk about Western public opinion cannot stop China's progress, happiness, right? The thing that's stopping China's progress and happiness is the Chinese Communist Party and the devils that run it. But they've got a great line in here. They talk about, you know, it's radical actions by the Trump administration, all this stuff throughout the world. It's because of Trump. But then they've got they're talking about specifically what Washington's doing. It says Washington has put forward a very absurd logic that China should be held accountable for COVID-19 pandemic. The anti-intellectual and anti-scientific sophistry is very suitable to the spread of populism. Thank you very much. You're connecting dots there, right? No, the populists are going to hold you accountable, looking at the science. It came from the Wuhan lab, and it either came through your biological weapons program, which you're not supposed to have, or it came through a gain-of-function experiment. Now, you can say you're working on a vaccine. Whatever you're working on, you weren't qualified to do it. It got out somehow, but then you exacerbated that. We know for a fact, and you admit you lied about it, this thing, it's called COVID-19 for a reason, right? It's from 2019. Well, you lied about it until you told the world basically on the 23rd of January when you locked down Hubei province and put Wuhan into quarantine. That month is what did this. Southampton University said if you had just been honest, and Dr. Yan is a witness, as a fact witness. Her time, and forget the reports she's doing, all this brain analysis she's doing, walking through why it couldn't have come from your lies, why it couldn't have come from the wet market, of which you went in and shut down and hosed out all the data, right, all the evidence. It couldn't have come from a bat cave. She proves that in her brilliant papers, right? But she's a fact witness on the chain of title of how you lied about it and knew about it back in January, and then went out and got all the PPE and easily lied to the morons, Dr. Ted and the crew at the World Health Organization. We reported this on War Room Pandemic in January about the tweets of the World Health Organization, the press releases on the 12th and the 14th of January. Southampton University said 95% of the death and destruction. So no, this is a genocide. You are responsible for the 1 million deaths, and you're responsible for more. It looks like the United States could go, I don't know, 300,000, 400,000, maybe more, right? You're responsible. You started this. I think, and I would beseech the White House, as we've been doing, hold these guys accountable. You want to get the spotlight. Now CNN's trying to... President Trump did not cause the pandemic. Okay? President Trump's been taking action to try to stop the pandemic. You may not like all his actions, right? You might like Biden's, I want to stay in a cave, I want to put a mask on, and but Joe Biden can do that because Hunter took all the illegal cash from the Chinese, so Joe Biden's got a nice retirement off of Chinese money, and he's got Jill there every day to put the bib on and feed him Gerbers, right? He's got a gig, just sitting there being fed. He didn't have to go out and work, right? He doesn't have to go out into the world. I thought Dr. Yan's performance last night on Tucker Carlson was extraordinary. She's been very quiet, very stoic. As she basically revealed last night, they've been after her parents. This is the reason, if you listen to the show, all of the names, we never show the faces. I think we showed one face one time of, I think it was Zach, but he was covered up and he just had the glasses on. And they're all nom de jures, right? Because the first thing they tell us is that the pressure comes from them rounding up our family and our friends and our colleagues. It's like the old way the Romans and the SS used to do it, right? You round up the village and say, hey, anybody that knew these guys at all, you're getting it.
And they've taken it to another level, Steve. In the last year and a half, they promoted this program where they're taking DNA samples of every single male in China. Now, they claim that this is so that in future, if somebody commits a crime or something, they'll be able to find them. But really what analysts believe this is for is so that if anybody steps off the reservation, you cannot hide. We can track you and your family by DNA, and we will get those close to you.
I did get an email yesterday, Steve, from a listener that said, "Would please tell Steve it's nom de guerre, not nom de jour."
Okay, nom de guerre.
As in no soup de jour.
I'm from southern France. I barely speak English. I'm from the American South.
Name of the day.
I missed that lesson. I missed that lesson at Harvard.
Listen, Sam Faddis, who's always a thorough guy, just sent me an article. And Michael Pillsbury is the one who called out Biden for ending the patrols in the South China Sea. And he's quoted as saying he's particularly unaware of military threats. One of the worst things I've seen him do is when he was vice president, Obama wanted to have Navy patrols in the South China Sea. Biden stopped them for 4 years, would not challenge Chinese claims in the South China Sea. Pillsbury said during a live stream Trump campaign event.
When we took over in the transition, they had, when I was in the South China Sea back in the 70s, we went in, guns up, radar up, fire control solutions. We were patrolling the South China Sea and keeping the South China Sea open navigation. Straits of Malacca, South China Sea, where, 3% of the world's trade goes. At least today. Back then it was big, but today it's everything. And when we took over, they had gone to this thing called safe navigation, right? If you even go at all, no guns, no radars, you're just a good little boy. President Trump changed that immediately. Mattis and the guys of the Defense Department started patrolling like you should patrol. I think you ought to have a carrier battle group steaming in the Straits of Taiwan, Straits of Formosa, back and forth down to the South China Sea, nonstop. Put them on notice. Not that we're going to go to kinetic war. And the way you're not going to go to kinetic war is show them that, hey, you raise your head and try to do Taiwan or anything like that, it's not going to end well. I tell you who doesn't want to do that. All this is happy to. I tell you who doesn't want to do that is the PLA. If they ever got the order from CCP to go take Taiwan, I think that's the end of the regime. But the guys in the PLA don't want to get crushed.
There's that video of them recently, right, being sent to the front line in against the Indian.
I don't know if that was a propaganda very familiar, but let's say this: they were not happy.
They were not happy about it.
But here's something that we have to think about with China strategically. They've had 40 years of a one-child policy. And particularly when you consider how important family is in China, think about sending your one child
That's a big deal.
to go die
That's a big deal.
Reunite Taiwan. It ain't going to happen.
That's a big deal. I want to go to the Pew poll, your observations, Jack Maxey, the Pew poll, and the rejoinder from Global Times. There's also another article. It was in Zero Hedge, but it was aggregated from somewhere about how the world's scientific community. Right, it's Colonel Sellon, right? Colonel Sellon had a thing how the world scientific community is kowtowing to the CCP. You see complete silence on Dr. Yan's analysis, right? And the reason you have is complete silence. All these institutions, World Health Organization, all these things have Chinese guys in the senior administration, CCP guys, plus they're funding cash. So the scientific community is completely kowtowed to the CCP in this. This is why you have no outrage right now of where did this thing come from? We admit there's a pandemic, CNN and MSNBC. Where did this thing come from? It's not a conspiracy. It came from China. We all know that, right? How did it come? Do they have a biological weapons program? Is it gain of function they shouldn't be doing? So, Jack, tell us about the polling and about the thing.
Just as an addendum to that real quick, is that I noticed that none of the pollsters ask people about this either. Is where they believe it came from, how they believe it occurred.
This is also the White House. You've got to drive. Don't look at polls. Drive polls. You've got presidents should be out there every day saying CCP virus. They got to be held accountable. The campaign. If you did that, it would be a thing. And then the polling. And we see the polling. That's the way to get a flip with 26 days to go. That's the way to get the older people. Let's talk about this poll because they kind of line up in where Trump needs to flip this with older people about the pandemic. They know where the pandemic came from.
Well, Pew, which is a very reputable organization, came out with a poll on China, and the headline for the article is "Unfavorable Views of China Reach Historic Highs in Many Countries." Essentially, there is not a single Western country that has above a 50% approval for China, except for, and this is a little bit telling too, Spain and Italy are the only ones that are about 50%. And now remember, Spain and Italy have major investments from the Chinese Communist Party, major propaganda operations going on inside their countries, major operations where the Chinese are picking up the pieces from these economies that they've already devastated, and they're also involved in the bridge and the Belt and Road Initiative. But what this tells me, Steve, is that the average person on planet Earth, the Lao Beijing, the deplorables of planet Earth, not the elites, who we all have recognized have sold us out, they don't trust China. They understand what is going on. And as we're going into this election season and we talk about China, when we think about those areas of this country that were most devastated by this Chinese virus, we look at urban minority communities, which definitely took it on the chin harder than the rest of the country. Donald Trump did not do that to you. The Chinese Communist Party did that to you people. Donald Trump is trying to protect you. And look who is trying to protect the communist Chinese. Joseph Biden and his faux
and company
running mate, Kamala Harris.
No, this is okay. So and
then let me go.
The Times gets the Global Times, which is the running dog.
I get carried away, but I've got a quotation from the Global Times. Their response to this Pew thing, and this is one of the most outrageous things, and many of the outrageous things I've read from Global Times. They say, for instance, they talk about Washington has used Xinjiang and Hong Kong to foment a negative opinion of China. And they say what they have done, quote, with Xinjiang and Hong Kong issues are also typical examples. The situations there have gone out of control. A large number of civilians in Xinjiang died because of violent terrorist activities, and Hong Kong had found it difficult to function normally. China, as a result, was forced to take measures to restore order. This is like Adolf Hitler talking about Auschwitz because he was trying to get people off the streets. People,
they were too out of control in the Warsaw Ghetto, right? No, seriously, this is what they're saying. They were putting up too big a resistance in the Warsaw Ghetto. We were trying to kill them, so that's why we had to build concentration camps. I mean, it's absurd. The logic of these guys. Here's the point. For decades, remember, it worked. People were dumb enough. They never had anybody sit there and go CCP. And here's what they're so upset about us and the reason the show's so big in China. We've bifurcated China in the CCP. We've bifurcated the Chinese people in the CCP. We've bifurcated Lao Beijing in the CCP. This is not, we don't have a China problem. We have a Chinese Communist Party problem. They're just like the Nazis. They're just like the fascists. They're just like the Soviets. They are gangsters. They are evil. They must be destroyed. All next on War Room Pandemic.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I'm not questioning your patriotism, Mark. I'm questioning your judgment. And the facts are there. You went on the junket, paid for by the Chinese Communist Party, part of their propaganda arm. In 2003, while active duty Navy, 2004, 2005, you said it was the most meaningful thing you've done in your life. And then you chose, of all the things you could have selected, I think about what I would have taken to space with me, you chose the Chinese Communist banner to take to space with you. And then you later have multiple business relationships and ventures with companies that are affiliated with the Chinese government. Those facts are real. So people want a fighter who's going to stand up to China, then I'm your girl. I've been already doing that. They're actually threatening me personally. My mom's a little freaked out about that, but I'm your fighter for this threat. You want somebody who's in business relationship? I'm not questioning your patriotism. It's your judgment. Your business relationships put you in a place where you're weak on China.
She just ought to do that every second of every day between now and November 3rd. If she's got a shot and she's behind, right? Not the greatest retail politician I think the people in Arizona ever met. But she lights up Mark Kelly, right? Active duty Navy, and he says the most meaningful thing. I mean, he's one of the guys, he's what we refer to as a useful idiot. Now, he's backing away, and now it's always been exposed. Oh, yeah, I never liked him, and, I'm a patriot and everything like that. That's a great line. She was well prepped. It's not your patriotism. It's your judgment, right? And him, as a Challenger guy taking the thing up in space, that's hammer time. We got to get McSally back on here. She just, every second of every day, wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. How are the McCain guys not going to come in? How's the Lincoln Project going to work against that? Where's the Lincoln Project stand on CCP?
Pro.
Haven't noticed. You neocons, you had his blood, Crystal, you guys blood and I realize, look, Crystal's got a son, I think, son's a Marine. Hat tip there. But, hey, guys, where do you stand on CCP? Right? And they got the Bannon line over at the Lincoln Project, the 4, 5, 6%. Hey, to me, it's a big deal. In Arizona, if you don't come together, and you got McSally right there, the defining aspect of the first half of this century is America's confrontation with the Chinese Communist Party. It just is. That's reality. That's geopolitical reality. We are the head of the Alliance of Liberty. Let's do it while we still head it, right? Because I'm not so sure we're going to be the Alliance of Liberty going forward. Because you got Marxists and communists all over this thing. And no, I'm not going Joe McCarthy on it. They brag about it. Antifa brags about it. Certain elements of Black Lives Matter brag about it. They're trained as Marxists. They're bragging about it. Woke capital. All you guys that kowtow to the NBA and all that, I hope the NBA's ratings go to 0. Mark Cuban's a good guy. But he's so far off, and Ted Cruz called him out last night on Hannity. Hey, you like the Chinese money better. I hope the ratings in the NBA go to 0. It's a disgrace what the NBA has done regards to the Chinese Communist Party and kowtowing.
I got to tell you, the NBA's ratings, I think, are the most revealing poll that we have this fall. Their ratings are in the porcelain bowl, as they say. But one thing that I got to go back to Kelly.
They finally have equality with the WNBA. The ratings are the same. I saw that. I didn't think that up. I saw that tweeted on one of the sports sites. They're exact. Good going, LeBron. Keep going, brother. You're doing good.
The NBA commissioner came out and said, they're going to rethink social justice for 2021. I think that means that all the
He's a gutless. That guy ought to be fired. He's terrible. He's kowtows to the. He silenced everybody. The one guy says something about Hong Kong. That guy's terrible.
But I want to go back to something that McSally said about Kelly.
Can we get his picture
really,
up? I want to make him
disturbed
famous.
Me.
NBA commissioner.
This guy gets a go to space, right? He's carried by American spacecraft. He's representing the United States of America. And this guy has gone so far off the reservation that he's given the opportunity to carry something into space. And what does he do? He doesn't carry an American flag like many of us used to carry in our packs and stuff like that. He carries a red communist Chinese flag into space on one of our spaceships.
Dude, you're a naval aviator. Why aren't you carrying something from the Battle of Midway? Why aren't we carrying something from Coral Sea? Why aren't we carrying something from the first Barbary War, right? Taking on the Barbary pirates. You're a naval officer. What about naval tradition? Hey, I don't even care. Take some with Horatio Nelson. The guys we took over from the Royal Navy. Take a copy of that Hamilton woman. Do anything but take something from the CCP.
You remember that kid at the military academy a few years ago when they're having graduation? He opens up his shirt and he's got on a Che Guevara T-shirt, and then inside his cover he's written "Communists will win." And this guy gets...
That was a military academy.
Right, and this guy gets pulled out
Bannon.
Out eventually. But think about it. Why do we have a guy like that in our military academies? You know why? Because we got a guy like Kelly in a leadership position. Leadership is top down. Kelly is, to me, emblematic of the sickness in the higher ranks of our military.
I want to go to, the deplorables. It's very simple. For this all to continue, the confrontation with the Chinese Communist Party, the assisting of the freedom of Lao Beijing as they search for freedom, the defining moment of the fourth turning in our country's history, like the Revolution, the Civil War, in World War II, the war against the fascists, right? The Great Depression, World War II. This is the fourth turning. For victory, got to win on November 3rd. What are you doing today? Dig down deep. What are you doing? Are you pushing content out? Are you getting people to sign up for our YouTube channel? Are you going on and giving a review on the podcast? Are you going to National Pulse? You're going to Revolver? You're going to Canon 212? You're going to all the great evangelical and Christian sites? Are you going to Citizens Free Press? You got Kane, who's fabulous. You got Frank Walter, who's amazing. You've got Darren Beatty, the guys at Revolver. You've got all these sites just bringing up. Are you giving them their patronage? And you don't have to write a check. Just go. The way the system's set up, they'll get paid somehow. Do advertising. Just go and give them traffic. Get everything. That's step one. Step two, get out. What are you doing? Are you working a phone bank? I was so honored the other day to speak to one of the young Republican Federation. I think it was the Metropolitan. They start off the evening by saying, hey, we've already knocked on 10 million doors. Or for what are you doing? When you look in the mirror every day, how can you answer? What have I done? Also, have you signed up to be an election official? Have you signed up to be a poll watcher? Right? Are you doing everything you can do right now to get low propensity voters? We don't need the engaged. We got you guys and all your friends. We know you're engaged, you're on it, you go to the sites, you do this, you watch Fox, you watch One America, you're following Jack Posobiec. We need those people in your life, right? In your life. And I think it's too late to yesterday, Florida shut down on Friday. Of course, they stayed up another day. What are you doing? What are you doing to get low propensity people out? This is the deplorables election. This is not persuasion. This is mobilization. This means everybody's got to turn too. Same thing was in 18, and guess what? You didn't show up. That's why you lost the House of Representatives. I was on that for months and months and months and months and months on TV, and everybody told me, well, Trump's not on the ballot. I said, oh, yeah, he is. I think he is. It's called a referendum. Trump's not on the ballot. Yeah, he is. Trump's not on the ballot. Okay, he's on the ballot this time. This is what I want to have. Make sure that at 11 o'clock p.m. East Coast time, I think we'll be in Eastern Standard Time by then. Yeah, we're already going through. The 30th is when we're a couple of days before Halloween is when we shift the clocks. So it'll be Eastern Standard Time, 11 p.m. No tears, no whining. No tears, no whining. When you lose your republic, when you look to Lao Beijing, I want to, all these people come on here, they're being persecuted in China. All these people, Dr. Yan and all these people being persecuted in China that look to us as the leaders of the free world and the leaders of the Alliance of Liberty, right? When they look at you, when you look in the mirror, say, hey, I was on watch when Franklin's warning he gave us on the steps of Constitution Hall, 235 years ago, 240 years ago, 238 years ago? He gave us the warning, a republic if you can keep it. Okay? Because what their plan is not a republic. They like the model. This is signal, not noise. They like the model of the CCP. Friedman, those guys talked about it for years. Now, they're going to put a happy face on it. But they like the authoritarian model. That's where the consolidation of power, and the White House has got to stop playing footsie with the tech oligarchs. They are not your friends. They're not your buddies. Finally, glad you got the H-1B visas at least somewhat sorted out. They're not your friends. They're not your buddies. They're not here to help. They're here to shut you down, okay? They want the consolidation of power. They want a handful of media companies. They want a handful of tech companies. They want a handful of all these companies, finance companies, super mega banks. Why? Because then that's state capitalism. They like the state capitalism model. They dig it, right? That's where this is going to. Right now, you can't just assume the leadership's, you got a decapitated command center. right? Bomber Command's not going to be able to send signals. You just got to ride to the sound of the guns, but that's where this thing's going to be won at. Yes, sir.
We also have a command structure. If anything we've learned through this pandemic is that it's not the corner store that gets to stay open. It's Costco that gets to stay open. It's not the mom and pop grocery store.
100%.
It's Walmart. So we're already watching what they have in store for us, and guess what? It leaves the average American behind. It puts you in a position of being a slave to the major corporations. They do not want the opportunity that has made this country great.
They did not traumatize. They're smart people. They did not traumatize their party because it just happened. They wanted them afraid. They wanted them afraid. They want you to fear. At least the most powerful thing Trump said is JP2 and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Be not afraid. Okay? What did Churchill say? Courage is the most powerful of all virtues, because it is upon courage that all the others rest. I'm going to give you the 7 pillars of wisdom when we come back on War Room Pandemic.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
You know, I think I stopped drinking. It was like 25 years ago, right? And one day I just decided, hey, you know what? I was putting on a bunch of weight, which is probably 30 pounds less than I am today. So I said, I was living in London at the time, coming back to coach my daughter, Maureen Bannon, on her basketball team back in Manhattan Beach, California. But just decided to stop one day. I think it was 25 years ago. But sitting next to Raheem Kassam this morning in the War Room, can you wear a mask next time? First off, you can't be infected. You can't be infected. Everything would be killed by that. It's like a distillery.
That's what I was doing last night.
It's like a distillery.
Trying a new. It's a new cocktail, therapeutic.
Okay, therapeutic.
It's called Moscow Mule. It's great.
It's called a what?
A Moscow Mule.
What's a Moscow Mule?
You don't know what Moscow Mule is? Ginger beer and vodka.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Ginger beer and vodka.
Oh yeah.
I saw it was Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee said the other day, I saw he was drinking two quarts of vodka. That can't be
He
real.
said 2 gallons. I was like,
He
said 2
That's
gallons. It can't be
impossible.
right.
Impossible.
He'd be
Possible.
dead.
I think that was hyperbole. You'd be dead.
I got plenty to say, by the way.
Go ahead.
Just
I want to start.
Chatty Cathy
I want to
this
start with
morning.
Paul. Do we have the shout out? Do we have this teed up yet in Denver?
Still loading.
I think is Denver want to play because he's on another channel or something? Is that his?
No,
Let's play it. Let's play it.
It's
Let's
still
play- is
loading.
it still-
I'm
One of the
telling you.
reasons is
Do we
the
have it?
editor-in-chief is Raheem Kassam, who is terrific. A new poll from the Democracy Institute and the Sunday Express reveals that the election would look like if pollsters didn't routinely weight their samples heavily in favor of Democrats. Donald Trump comes out ahead by 1 point. As reported by the National Pulse editor-in-chief, Raheem Kassam, pollsters routinely created a weighted sample that overrepresents Democrats in order to create a false impression the Republican candidates are trailing. The latest Biden-Trump head-to-head.
That would be the great one, Mark Levin, who was really, Hannity's the first to admit, was the brains of the operation for Hannity, I think, for 10 years behind the scenes. The great one, Mark Levin, and now a major media personage, and also the first guest on my show ever.
What did he tell you, Steve?
No. Levin's fabulous. The great one. Giving a shout out to National Pulse and that great story. Let's give him something else to give a shout out. But talk about the Economist poll.
Oh,
the Economist, which is the trade rag for the party of Davos.
This is very large and came out this morning. It's
How many
325 odd pages in total, about 320.
So tell the audience, walk them through, when you get these polls as a professional and you see they got 300, what type of data, what are they giving you on this, layer after layer after layer? What are they telling you, and what are you searching for?
Just so people can see what I'm scrolling through here I think the camera can pick that up. Just endless reams of data, right? So you really got to know what you're looking for. I used to never understand polling. I used to never understand how it worked or what all these crosstabs were and the numbers. You just do it enough, and it kind of comes second
After Nigel lost enough races for the Parliament,
then he brought me on board, and I fixed it.
For Commons, then Raheem had to get serious, and they won Brexit. So you got the big one, okay? You got the big, and you got that right.
I mean, can you imagine if
Raheem Kassam was telling me? By the way, we were so cocky and confident, we could feel it, everything like that. But it was Raheem. Just like in 16 with Trump, it was Raheem saying "Hey, we got this. This thing's cutting our way." When everybody, I mean, you guys were dismissed. They were saying no, the polling says it's going to be a blowout, going to be a landslide.
Well, so here's the really interesting thing about this is that polling just cannot tell you everything. It can barely tell you anything, quite frankly. And on the morning when we woke up on Brexit Day in the morning, I spoke to you, Steve, and I was not happy because I had slept on the polling, right? I had the polling in my head in that morning. And so I wasn't happy. There's actually a picture of me and Nigel together at his local pub having a cup of tea in that morning. He was going to go out campaigning. He had just voted himself. And I spoke to you. I said, I'm not sure about this. And as the day went on, it wasn't the polling and the changes in that. You know what it was? It was the weather. It was the weather that made me realize that we were going to win, because there was a massive rainstorm in London, and in London only. So only where the metropolitan liberal elite were going out to vote were they given a reason to not go out and vote, i.e. a rainstorm. The rest of the country was glorious sunshine. You want to talk about divine intervention. So look, we'll do something.
Is this breaking news? Rasmussen just put up a poll. It's got Trump down 12. Rasmussen poll, 52-47. Not to rain on your parade. Isn't Rasmussen the... What does Jack Maxey got to say that? Let's go to the Economist poll.
Let's go to this.
Is that a bombshell right there? Is this the Rasmussen poll that's always had us close?
Every time I start to get a little afraid, I just go back to the same date in 2016 and ask to see the polling for that date, and you'll see Hillary Clinton ahead anywhere from 13 to 16 points.
Not on Rasmussen.
I did just
check that out.
I did just say polling can barely tell you anything.
Yep. But this is the breaking news. Let's say Rasmussen's polls got Biden. Here's the other bad indicator. Biden's got a lot of fives in front of it, right? A lot of these polls got Biden at 50, 51, 52. That trend is not helpful. I want to check this Rasmussen poll out right now. What was the last one we got? We got Biden 52, 40 Trump. And Trump's got a lot of 39s, a lot of 41s. Look, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm trying to say, hey, get focused. We got 27 days. This can happen, but this has got to be a bottom-up revolt. This is going to be on the shoulders of the deplorables. There's no commercial, there's no video, there's nothing that's going to do this more than people putting their shoulder will, and they ought to face reality. I want to check this.
I need to.
Rasmussen on October 6, 2016 had Hillary Clinton up by 7, or October 5th and 6th had her up by 7 points.
Okay.
I need to see this before I can comment on that.
I got it.
I'm
just giving you breaking news.
350
by our ever good staff. Just put that up for us.
350 odd pages of this other one that I've gone through.
Okay.
And there are a couple of interesting pullouts. Firstly, the Midwest thinks Trump won the first debate, but it's the only part of the country that thinks Trump won the first debate.
It's a good place in the country to
Which is actually very important because the polls that they pulled over the weekend were claiming that Trump was losing rural voters.
Right.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Right.
Midwest.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I pulled that out. I do find it interesting. There are so many things in this. So they've gone through a lot of issues as well as just party line polling. So Biden actually is not thought of very favorably when it comes to handling the pandemic. So there may be an opening there as a point of attack for the vice president tonight against Kamala Harris and raising just how actually weak a lot of the country thinks Joe Biden is. 36% saying he's very weak, 18% saying he's somewhat weak. So that's a real interesting line of attack to try and flip that around on them, because this is what they're doing to the president right now. The expectations, as this poll bears it out, are that Kamala will win the debate tonight. So she goes in with higher expectations on her rather than what Joe Biden had, which was very low expectations ahead of the first debate. Now, nearly 20% of people who are polled say they're not sure their vote will be accurately counted at this election, which I think is a fascinating data point. It shows you just how so many, one in five people don't have confidence in the outcome of the election and their vote being counted correctly. And then people actually said, the majority of people said they're not concerned with the government function with general government functions suffering because of the pandemic, because the president has the virus and a lot of his team. So I thought that was all very interesting, and it led me to thinking. I know a lot of the live stream thought I was taking a snooze. I was thinking. It made me think about what are the attack lines tonight for the vice president. Now, there's a lot of noise out there. I went through all the New York Times and everything. And there's not a whole lot of interesting information about the debates.
Before you get to the debates, I want to go back to Economist.
Yeah.
As you see it, where are the avenues for the counterattack? You know, Brother Maxey said earlier, in a fight, start punching back. So give me the verticals. Where do you see the path to victory here, as you see the Economist poll?
Oh, I definitely think there's a lot of lines of attack on especially the stimulus. I think the vice president can turn that right on Kamala tonight, by the way, and ask why Pelosi. Go through the line items, by the way. Go through the whole budget and turn that around. I think there's a lot of people out there who are interested in that. There's not a lot of optimism I've noticed in this, especially with younger voters. They are very, very pessimistic about the future of the country. So if the theory goes that Biden and Kamala are the young person's candidates and they think they're going to win, then why are they pessimistic? And there's something in that. I'm not quite sure what the line is yet, but there is something there. People don't like these guys. They don't like the ticket, the Democrat ticket. And so there's plenty of avenue for opportunity there. I also think that the strength of the president is something that needs to be played up. His personal strength,
they should pivot the entire time and say, hey, Biden just wants to keep the country shut down. Give me your plan. Every question, they should just pivot back and punch on that. You don't tell me your plan, Kamala. You're the one that flew back for the pre-buttal. Mask and a testing program is not a plan. It's maybe part, but give us your plan. Tell us how you're going to open up the economy. Punch on that.
Well, so 5 things that came to mind for me. Number one, the CCP virus. Got to get into that.
Yeah.
Got to ask Kamala head on. Do you think the Chinese Communist Party is responsible for this? And what is your plan of action to hold them to account? Because your ticket mate did everything to empower them, right? So number one. Number two, take Kamala to task over what she has said about Joe Biden. And throw her words from very recently back in her face. Number three, I think there's a lot to come out. The riots and crime and Antifa and law and order. They need the Trump base wants to hear that. And if this is about getting your base to turn up on election day, you've got to talk about that. I think an interesting line of attack may be churches as well. Ask Kamala if she believes that if people could be flying all over the place, wearing their masks on the planes, not distanced at all, why she still believes that churches can't be open. I think throw that in her face. And then finally, as I said, the stimulus stuff. Because the stimulus stuff is dominating right now. Markets back up 500 points right now. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to know whether it's going to happen. Everybody wants to know if they're getting their checks and their government money and their Trump bucks, whatever it is. So ask Kamala why Nancy Pelosi, her friend, her partner, is putting all these line items in to throw the bill up to $3.6 trillion. And ask her live on stage.
Well, she said she compromised it $2 trillion.
Another thing to ask her, she was the Attorney General of the state of California. I think you lay at her feet this threat by the Biden group that they're going to mandate a national mask mandate. How does that affect, the Constitution? What's her position on the Supreme Court's throwing out these measures?
And you take bites between masks. Yeah.
Just to what you said, she compromised at $2 trillion. Okay, so she's basically admitting this is not a billion we're talking about. It's not 5 billion. It's not 10 billion compromise. She's admitting that $1.6 trillion were compromisable in her plan.
Okay, so Mark Kelly, we're going to get to all. Mark Kelly failed as a naval officer to talk about Coral Sea or Midway when he went up in space, took a Chinese Communist Party flag. But in 7 October of 1571, there was a very famous naval battle that changed the history of the West. And we're going to have in the next segment a very, very special guest, very honored. We're huge fans of David Horowitz and everything David Horowitz does at the Freedom Center. We're going to have Raymond Ibrahim. Ibrahim. You've seen him on Fox. You've seen him everywhere. He wrote an amazing piece. Was it the American Thinker? That about the anniversary on 7 October in 1571. a battle that changed the direction of the West, although they downplay it in the Muslim world. We're going to have a very special guest on to talk about that. I thought I'd do something because Raheem was starting to bore me with his analysis of the debate tonight.
It's okay. Somebody has to be, in the detail here.
In the moment.
We can't all be wearing our headphones like a headband. Look at this.
So keep this frock of hair back. I wear it during the day to keep it off my face. Okay, we're going to return in just a second. We got a very special next block. Want all the deplorables to hang tight. Battle of Lepanto next.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
What's the coverage tonight on Real America?
It's 8 p.m. Raheem Kassam, Dr. Gina Loudon, Governor Eric Greitens, and then uninterrupted debate coverage here on Real America's Voice.
Okay, Vish, I'm giving actually a talk tonight. I'm giving a talk tonight at 8 o'clock to what group?
You're giving a talk tonight, 7 to 8 p.m. to the Texas Young Republicans. Also, this Saturday, you will be in person speaking to the Virginia Young Republicans, October 10th, 2020, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Madison at the Mill in Orange, Virginia.
How do people get tickets?
We're tweeting out links on our
Okay, give me the Great Barrington Proclamation.
Great Barrington Declaration. This is a declaration written by a number of incredibly important virologists and doctors. Dr. Martin Kilduff, Harvard University, Dr. Sunetra Gupta, Oxford University, and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya from Stanford University. This says in part the idea is that we have to open up this country. They say keeping students out of school was a grave injustice. Indeed, for children, COVID-19 is less dangerous than many other harms, including influenza. They describe something called focused protection. We spoke about in the first couple episodes.
Targeted interventions.
Protecting our elderly and letting the rest of us go on with our lives.
I want to go through a whole analysis of this tomorrow. Let's get a segment on this. The Barringtons. Not getting enough coverage. Okay. By the way, the circus was so big on Showtime this week, or the circus on Showtime. The interview the part that they couldn't put on is going to be on John Hallman's The Recount site. Also, we're having Vice TV in tonight to do the debate coverage here. More on that later, how they're going to push it out later in the week. I want to turn now to in 1571, 7 October. This is the anniversary of one of the most important events in Western history, the naval battle, the Battle of Lepanto. An amazing piece. We're going to put it up. You got to push this thing out and tweet it out by Raymond Ibrahim, who is, I think, one of the leading intellectuals on this, works with David Horowitz out at the David Horowitz Center. Raymond, thank you so much. We're honored to have you on. Can you walk us through this piece that you put today that every deplorable's got to read?
Sure. So as you said, today on this date in 1571 was one of the greatest battles between Islam and the Western world, and the Battle of Lepanto. And what had happened is the Ottoman army at the time, which was completely threatening Europe and advancing and conquering, and had just conquered a century earlier Constantinople, had just invaded Cyprus, the island of Cyprus. And they took it by treachery, excuse me. And the fort commander, the stories are in the sources are really pretty vivid. What they they tied him up, they chopped his nose off, chopped his lips off, tried to get him to convert to Islam, and he refused. And it's the very religious tenor to the whole thing. And they would sink him in the water, and finally they took him to a mosque, actually a church which had become a mosque that they had turned into a mosque, tied him up there and skinned him alive. And it was during that time that all these maritime states, Catholic states, essentially led mostly by Spain, had created a coalition, Holy League, that was coming to try to relieve Cyprus. And they had a massive confrontation, massive battle on today's date by sea with something like 150,000 men and 300 ships. And the Christians actually won, which was amazing at the time because, like I said, the Ottomans were completely creating havoc all throughout Eastern Europe, especially, and also in the Mediterranean through the Barbary pirates that they were supporting. So it was considered, it actually became, it's on the calendar, Holy Day. It was celebrated really mostly by Catholics, but also Protestants and Orthodox at the time. due to it being such a magnificent victory. And just 5 years before it actually was the Siege of Malta, also by the Ottomans, and that too was a Christian victory. So it's seen these two battles in conjunction, especially Lepanto, are often seen as the turning point for the West vis-a-vis the Islamic powers, specifically in this case the Ottomans, who were scourged Eastern Europe for literally centuries, from the 1300s up until it was demised in World War I.
Raymond, let me jump in here for a second. One, why is this not taught in the West more? And you've got a book called Sword and Scimitar, 14 Centuries of War Between Islam and the West, that is a must-read. But why is this not? And I remember this is kind of controversial. I think years ago when this book came out, it was so brilliant. They tried to have the Army War College, Naval War College, and people's heads were blown up. Why? We got a couple of minutes here. You got 2 minutes. Why is this not taught? Why is this battle not taught? Why is the Siege of Malta not taught? Why is the Siege of Vienna not taught? Why is your book not taught in every school in America?
Because it completely undermines and contradicts the narrative that they are trying to teach, which is false. And that narrative, in short, is that Islam is peace, and that if anything, historically, Islam was progressive. The Western world, Europe, Christendom, etc., were backwards and violent. And like you said, if you look at these battles or the book, because the book is all about Lepanto, all the battles, the major battles between Islam and the West, if you look at it, you have basically the Muslims initiating conflict, initiating jihad for well over 1,000 years. The book actually goes from 632 up until the first war that the United States of America had as a nation, Barbary Wars, which was against Muslims under the same jihadi rational imperative that you find all throughout the book and history. And so they don't want people to have that very first premise, which is so important, which they work very hard to get people to believe, undermined, which is that historically Islam is a religion of peace. Because if it was historically, then whatever we're seeing now can't be part of Islam. It must be about economics, grievances, territorial disputes, Israel, blasphemous cartoons, whatever. But if you find out that, no, actually, this is how Islam has behaved, even worse, historically, from the get-go, for centuries, not because of grievances, land, territorial grievances, or anything else, but just because they gave infidels three choices, as the book makes very clear, for over a millennium: convert to Islam, be dhimmis, or pay tribute, jizya, or fight to the death. Then you realize what we've been taught for so long is a lie. And they're trying so hard to prevent that, like you said, including by having me temporarily not speak at the U.S. Army War College, which had invited me to talk about the book Sword and Scimitar. But then eventually, of course, they did have me talk.
Raymond, we got a hard out. We got a bounce. Give us your Twitter handle. We're going to have you back in the next couple of weeks to talk in detail. How do people get access to your writings?
Thank you. Probably the best thing actually is my website, which is just my first and last name.com, Raymond Ibrahim, IBRAHIM.com. And over there, there's the little icons to my Facebook, even though that's always being suppressed and people don't even see anything on it, as well as my Twitter. That's why I mentioned my website.
You're a great patriot, sir. I look forward to having you back. Huge fans here in the War Room.
Thank you.
Up in the American Thinker today. Got to read The Battle of Lepanto. 8 o'clock tonight. Raheem
3 p.m.
Kassam.
this afternoon.
3 p.m. this afternoon. See you tomorrow.